Sweet. Okay, we're rolling. First, part one, part un, is Arizona John, who made that sweet salt cedar bow that I wound up breaking and then fixing with sinew backing. Please get a hold of me. I lost your contact information. It has been passed on now that it's repaired to Derek of Derek's Primitive Missiles, a fine arrow maker. Look him up on Facebook. Who in turn will pass it on to a deserving young bow maker. And so that's part one. Part two is I really love the kids programs here. They've developed more into crafts that we used to do when we were kids, if you're old as dirt as I am, teaching them how to make things, out of common materials. And so we're doing kites tomorrow. This is a box kite, which we're not going to do for the kids program because it's pretty complex. It's one of those things that you need 4 hands, and it's really difficult, and it's weak and unstable until you get the main frame done and the paper on, and then it becomes a very strong unit. By the way, this thing flies tremendously. It's an amazing flyer. We're doing, in fact, these smaller standard diamond kites like you see. Well, I have a lot of wood scraps, so I ripped the thin wood. I really should use spruce as far as stiffness to weight, but I had oak, and oak works. And I have the 2 lengths, cross pieces, and the steps are thus. But first I'm going to add that we do kids programs with sometimes 4-year-olds, they get mixed into the mix, and they wouldn't be able to do this on their own, generally speaking. So how I do is I break them into groups, usually family groups. They bring 2 kids or 3 kids, and tomorrow I've got 3 or 4 family groups. And so instead of each one working on their own kite, what I do is the family group, it builds cooperation and a little bit of patience, will work on one. Then they will work on another, and then they will work on the third. So each one has a kite, and each one actually takes part because they have to help each other. That is how I've been able to have somewhat complicated projects above the skill level, say, of a 4 or 5-year-old. By doing a cooperative effort amongst the family members, it helps everyone take part and build one. And so that's good. Use that on your own kids, or if you do programs. I actually have a fellow that does a blog and is kind of in my situation and was in the fine state of Wisconsin. I don't know if he's watching this, but keep in mind, you can get into some great craft projects if you do it as a cooperative effort. Anyway, the steps in making a diamond kite. And then I have a sleek streak, a little rubber band airplane, and I'll explain why I'm going to be using that along with kites. Okay, so you get the cross pieces, tie them together. I actually should have moved this up a little bit so it's more diamondy as far as stability. Then, using these little, notches I made, you kind of do it backwards. When we bought the high flyer kits, the paper had the string in it, and you just put the sticks together and do this. This is the other way to do it. Take your string, and using your eye, as far as 90 degrees here, tie it through there and wrap it around to keep it from splitting. Then go to this one. Do the same thing. Through the notch, wrap it around to keep from splitting. This one, through the notch, wrap, back up here, same deal, and then tie it. And so you have a wooden framework bonded right here, and then with a string to keep it rigid. Next, you take your basic kite and you lay it on the table, la tabla for those Spanish speakers in our audience, and simply trim. And I have adult scissors and kid scissors, so everyone can take part. Trim along here like an inch, inch and a half, whatever, beyond the string, and then you just take and kind of clip it right here, a little semicircle, and that's not, too technical. And then just a glue stick, and then fold it over, and voila, you have the paper on your kite. Now we get into some fine-tuning and stability. The reason I have this flying flivver is this has everything to do with this. Notice that you bow this cross piece. That's to give it some pendulum stability in a way similar to a dihedral in an airplane. When it tilts this way, there's more pressure on this wing, and so it responds, pendulum stability. You also have to rig up a bridle to get the proper angle of attack, you know, with the wind. It's kind of an angular thing. It's not Bernoulli's principle with an airfoil. It's all incidence. The incidence. Same with this airplane. This doesn't have an airfoil. It's just, you know, angle of attack. And so you have dihedral, angle of attack. You have to have some balance. You don't have the same, you know, center of gravity as you do here. But you can adjust it with the bridle, you know, the angle of incidence. So you do have to reinforce it right here with a little diamond. White glue is better than a glue stick because this has to be strong. Little diamond there, poke a hole through it so you can adjust. You see all these little knots here? That's so I could adjust it. Now, this thing operates 4 forces: gravity, lift, thrust, drag, and it works the same way with this doohickey, where instead of having a vertical and horizontal stabilizer, I have garbage bag strips to keep it on the steady course. You know, the drag right here works kind of the same as the vertical and horizontal stab. The thrust would be, you know, the wind, basically. The drag is it pull away from it. So when everything is in equilibrium, this thing is flying along nice and even. Same with this kite. The lighter you make it, the lighter the breezes can be. Because I used oak cross braces, it needs somewhat stiff breeze, but you know, you get windy days. You can use newspaper, you can use tissue paper. They used to have comics, you know, the fold-out comics. That would have been nice, but you know, comic sections and newspapers went the same way as the dodo and Saturday morning cartoons. And so that is the kiting. Do they fly? Yes, they fly. They also teach the basics of aerodynamics. They teach kids how to use cool, just basic materials like newspapers and sticks. You could use bamboo for the cross pieces, garden stakes. You could use almost anything. You could use dowels from the hardware store. But the message is you do need to have a light tail. We used to use string and entice cloth so it looked like little bow ties. That's a little heavier than this, so it would take more thrust to fight gravity. And so I went with the plastic garbage bag, maximizing drag and minimizing weight. And hopefully I'll inspire people to get into model aerial planes. That is that. Oh, also, they can make like a little spool. When you take if I was to just take the roll of string and unwind it like this, you'd know that as a bow maker that makes strings too, you're actually unwinding the twist or winding them tight, and then it gets all tangled. So you actually have to make a spool of sorts using cardboard, you know, like a cardboard roll from string, and then cut cardboard sides here and then just knock a hole through it and put a stick. So you're doing it in this way and not unwinding it like a spinning reel. Yay! I don't know what time it is because my phone's over there. I probably have about 10 minutes of waiting here. 10 more minutes of potential sunsetters, which will then jack my day another half an hour. Oh, long days, one after the other. But get involved. Get involved with your kids. If you're involved with scouting or some other group, youth group, you know, make paper kites. Get back to the roots of crafting and playing with sticks and rocks and making things out of common material that are fun. Fight this society that we are in, that everything is plastic and you just throw it away and nobody knows how to make anything with their hands anymore. That is all. That is my story. I'm sticking to it. Have a good one. I appreciate the viewership.